So, to continue my right wing grifter series, I'm going to do Canadian grifter and so called comedian Jimmy Dore. I don't know much about this guy, but I am aware that he's formerly a Young Turks employee. His brain broke during COVID, and now he's a kind of basically a right wing grifter. He likes to pretend he's leftist, but he's kind of not. So, let's get straight into the video.
Jimmy Dore. Welcome to Dad Saves America, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So I went to your show last night, and when your mic said,
When I was in London last year, I think it was, I saw his show sold out at Leicester Square Theatre, and I'm thinking, who the hell goes to that? It must be right wing people, but we'll see.
"Hey, you can come by the show today," I was super pumped because I have been watching you at least since the start of COVID.
Oh,
And the thing that's so interesting to me,
I wonder why.
this is where I want to kind of start our conversation, is you are a comedian. You came up through sort of progressive politics. I'm like a right winger, libertarian oriented, and yet I love watching your stuff. And I feel like that
Again, I wonder why. It's a mystery. It's a mystery.
is part of this weird political realignment that's taken place. Like, I know like half your audience is probably people more like me. And, so how do you think about what's happening?
He's being very careful with his words. Like, say, like, well, why, you discovered the money, you got the paycheck, you realized, people, on the left, not much money, so you want to make the big bucks, you got to go to the right. Yeah, you realize that?
With
Well-
realignment that's going on.
I'll just say this. I
I
think
like that euphemism, realignment, i.e. just being a right-wing grifter and pretending you're left-wing, but listen to all his talking points, right-wing talking points.
that Democrats and people who I considered or consider themselves liberal, the liberal class has become illiberal, right? They've abandoned what it means to be a liberal. Like I always, I sometimes make a joke in my act about, I'm for freedom of speech. I'm against censorship. I'm for bodily autonomy. I'm pro-choice. I'm anti-war. And, that makes me a right winger now. That's what it,
Okay, so he's talking about the Russian war in Ukraine, which Russia invaded Ukraine, a sovereign state. So is he against self-defense if someone invades? Obviously he's not, because he's pro-Palestine. So again, bodily choice. Like, so now being pro-choice is illiberal? I mean, like, the guy didn't even pretend to laugh at that joke. It's not funny. It's okay.
it's amazing, right? And the liberals are rabid censorship for censorship. They're
Okay, so what about Donald Trump? Not letting AP Reuters into the Oval Office, sued Bill Mayer for a joke for $5 million. He said he's going to put journalists in prison who criticize him or critical of him. He's trying to revoke local licenses, TV networks. Like, who's censorious here? I'm not saying there's not problems on the left, but let's not act like the right wing, like even Elon Musk as well, are constantly censoring. They're constantly getting triggered by people on the left saying stuff they don't like.
completely pro-war, right? They've been completely hoodwinked by the propaganda about Putin and Russia, and they don't know. That's the thing about
He is a Russian shill. Like, what, you're pro-Russian? Like, okay, you're not a leftist. I'm sorry. Tankies, bye-bye. Like, you're not a leftist. Like, propaganda against Putin. Putin is the propaganda master. He's literally waged a campaign against the West of misinformation. He literally is funding him. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure he probably is. And he's got the same talking points. Like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, pro-war. Like, defensive war. Like, There's a difference. Invasion and defense. Very different.
About Americans, they're the most propagandized people in the world, and they have no idea, right? People in China know when they're being propagandized, right? And people in the old Soviet Union knew when they were being people in America think like, wait, I don't know. I'm just watching the news, even
This is so ironic come from him that he is a right-wing propagandist now. He's doing all the talking points on COVID. He, critical of Biden. Like, what does he say about Trump? Like, I went through his videos. Like, he's not critical at Trump at all. Like, he'll maybe do a little bit of criticism, but ultimately, he is pro right wing. And these kind of interviews are so boring because this guy does not push back on anything he says. Like, not even to play devil's advocate. You look at a liberal podcast, like Ask Sarka the other day, you had the host push back against what she was saying. He just says this stuff, and it's like no pushback.
though Chomsky wrote Manufacturing Consent and 30 years ago, they still think their consent is not being manufactured, which it is. It's amazing to me.
What? Like, is he talking about liberals or leftists here? Because he probably conflates the two, but leftists are very aware of the power of propaganda. Propagandists like him, who do manufacture consent, who, have certain values one day, and then all of a sudden COVID, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is very lucrative to spread lies and misinformation about COVID vaccines and COVID. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, God, bloody hell, my bank balance has gone up. Oh, I'll do more of that. And this is what YouTube incentivizes, by the way. It incentivizes this kind of content, extreme content, that since QAnon and the conspiracy theories of the right is very popular. He knows exactly what he's doing.
So anyway, the realignment. I mean, look at the people there's a lot of Democrats surrounding. Trump used to consider himself a Democrat. Matt Taibbi,
Matt Taibbi, another grifter, who seemingly was a leftist, and then, like Glenn Greenwald, it's like, I want a bigger house. My cars need a bigger car. Can I have some money, please? Yes, please. There you go. Here's the talking points. It's the same old story.
Elon Musk, right? I'm pretty sure he voted for Joe Biden, right? Let's see who.
Yeah, before the racism and the sexual assault. And then, wait a minute, we don't like that on the left. We do on the right. Bye-bye. It's the same old story. The same with Russell Brand. These people have no values. The same with Donald Trump. Do you think the Democrats would embrace, like, Trump would never, ever been able to run as a Democrat with his sexual assault allegations, 26 at least. It wouldn't. Like, it's a no-go. But Republicans, it's like, oh, it's fine. We know who they are. We know what they value.
Tulsi Gabbard was the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. So there definitely is, and I subscribe to what I'm more on. I know there's a lot of people who are actual lefties who are hypercritical of Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Kash Patel. And I'm like, yeah, I have big disagreements with Trump and Kash and Pam Bondi and Tulsi and RFK, but I also have lots of.
Okay, what are those? What are some of those? I would like to know that. He won't say, but what are those?
Of agreements with them, right? So I think it's.
And what are those?
You got to be able to, it doesn't, people are always talking about, oh, you think Elon's intentions are, with doing Doge. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what his intentions are. It only matters in politics. It only matters what the outcome is. It only,
It kind of does matter. Both matter. Like your intentions, if you've got intentions that are to help people, which Doge isn't, it's to line the pockets. Like they're just trying to cut stuff because they don't like the state. It's not to help people. And also the consequences are important. Already we're seeing consequences. People are losing their jobs. People are not happy with it. You see town halls with Republicans. People are upset with the cut. They're losing their job. They're potentially losing their Medicaid. They're potentially going to lose their Social Security. Like, so the consequences do matter. But he's like, oh no, well, intentions don't matter. Well, they do, and the consequences already. He's going down in the polls. Recession incoming. Inflation going up. Why is he not talking about it? Because he's been bought.
We'll know them by their fruits. Like, what do they do? It's like, I say, it didn't matter if Lincoln freed the slaves because he thought it was going to help him get laid. It didn't matter what his intention was. It mattered what the outcome was. That's all that matters. That's what they call making legislation, making sausage. And you don't want to see how it's done. It only matters what the outcome is. So I'm more in line with
Yeah, but he's assuming the outcome's good when already we're seeing it's not. This is a recent video from the other day. Like, people are upset with Doge. People are upset with Trump and Musk. Why is he acting like that isn't true?
I know Chris Hedges, who I respect a lot, is very down on everything that's happening, and he just thinks that they're all just a criminal enterprise, and they're grifting, and they're collapsing in on themselves. And I'm like, I actually see them stopping the Ukraine war.
Well, I don't know much about Chris Hedges. I know he used to work for Russia Today. He seems okay. He's right here. Yeah, they are criminal frauds. They objectively are. Like, it's so obvious, the grift. And maybe he doesn't like that because he's a grifter too. So it's like, well, grifters aren't bad people. They just like making money and, lying.
Telling Europe, you're on your own. We're not going to be there to protect you. Got, do your own thing militarily. And
That could turn out to be like a good thing, I think, for Europe. That could be a means for Europe to come together after the kind of last decade or so of EU kind of skepticism. I think that will make Europe stronger. But that wasn't his intention, was it? The consequences may be positive, they may be not. But again, intentions do matter.
that excites me. I like that they're purging the deep state. It's like they're
How are they though? How are they? Okay, just say it. He's just listing his like stand up set. His talking points like free speech, abortion, deep state, Russia. Like, what's next? COVID?
they're getting rid of it's like a revolution against the neocons. That's what it feels like to me. And again, we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, his Achilles heel, and it's shared by everybody in his cabinet, is Israel Palestine. That's from my point of view. And now he's, his solution is not a solution, but
That's interesting that he's held on to that. Like, is that is that just an anti-Jew, anti-Zionism position, or is that a principled position? It may be. I don't know. Like, that might be where like he's really been pro-Palestine, but that is very at odds with all the other talking points. So interesting.
other people say, well, that's just him negotiating, doing art of the deal. He wants to move all the Palestinians out. That's just it. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the deal is he wants then, but anyway, so I'm
Interesting to like characterize that the way he's talking about Gaza as genocidal, just is the language, as his Achilles heel. It's a bit more than that, in the same way it was for Biden. It's potentially led to his downfall. So, yeah, interesting.
excited in a lot of ways, and I think there is a realignment happening for sure. I think the fact that Donald Trump is a Republican just is kind of happenstance. His
What?
his rhetoric around immigration was shared by every Democrat since Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was
It really wasn't. You always hear this talking point. It wasn't the same. Yeah, they'd play into populism around immigration because it's popular. People like hating on immigrants. It's, the last 100 years have pretty much been that history. But it's very different, the rhetoric of talking about eating cats and dogs, criminals. That's all he ran on. That's all he ran on. What else, really, apart from tariffs? Mostly it was this kind of tirade against criminals, lunatics coming over the border. Hillary Clinton, Obama, Bill Clinton, they weren't talking about that. Yeah, Obama deported, I think, 3 million. That's a lot of people. But to act like these liberals, like, is he a leftist? Is he a liberal? Like, what?
So we used to rail against illegal immigrants, saying they come here and take our jobs and they come here and use our services. Hillary Clinton
Did they like they take our jobs? Like that's more of a neocon position. Derb. Like that's more of a neoconservative position.
said they have to learn English, they have to pay a big fine, they have to all, they're all the same thing with Barack Obama.
Did he? Is that what? I mean, I think you probably should speak some English. It's not, a foregone conclusion, but if you're in that country, like, but Donald Trump isn't saying that, is he? There's very different rhetoric. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with Obama or Clinton on this, but it is very different.
But then when Donald Trump got the nomination, I think that they had to figure out a way to separate themselves from him, right? Because, they're a party of Wall Street, the Democrats.
And Trump isn't?
Then they said they're not a party of workers, and they knew that. So they had to, paint him as a
Yeah, but I agree. That criticism is valid against the Democrats. They're not a party of workers, really. They've been caught by... But Donald Trump isn't either. And if he acts like he is, I'll be very upset.
racist, and we'll paint him as a traitor to our country.
He is a racist. I'm sorry, like, this is where the grift is coming in strong, because he objectively is a racist. There's so many accounts, and listen to what he says. Like, those stereotypes about Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, that's a racist trope. If anyone else said that, they would be gone. But he gets away with it because we know he's a shameless racist, misogynistic. Like, he just somehow seems to get away with it.
And so now all the things that they used to say about it, I mean, he's a little more bombastic about his...
A little bit more bombastic. Really? Really?
Immigration, but the message is almost exactly the same.
Not really.
And so that's why 45% of Hispanics voted for him. So...
And I think
What's that got to do with anything? How is that relevant?
54% of male Latinos.
Oh, really?
It was like a majority of Latinos.
So that means he's not racist? I mean, Yee probably voted for him. He's a bit racist. He's a bit anti-Semitic, I'm going to say. Okay.
Men, as I understand it, which was that's kind of the first time in since World War II probably that a Republican got a majority of a large minority vote like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they say his numbers didn't go up with African Americans from the last time, but I think it was over 20%, which is still kind of amazing for a Republican, any Republican, and especially a guy who they painted as a racist.
But he is a...
Okay, I'll keep this quick. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so that you won't miss more Dad Saves America as our videos come out each week. And it also really helps.
It's
I will never ask you for subscribers, by the way. If you want to subscribe, do. If you don't, I don't care.
It's one of these things where right before you showed up, I saw there was a senator from, I think, Missouri calling Elon Musk a dick on Twitter.
Yeah.
And the thing that was so funny to me is that we just did a video about the 60 Minutes piece where Germany is now arresting people.
Yeah.
For exactly that. There was actually a part of...
You can't insult.
It was a politician who was called a Pimmel, and they went after the person that did it. And I have a feeling that same senator likes those laws. So why do you think that that's happened? Why has the political left in America turned on free speech? That's such a strange transformation.
Well,
It's just such a straw man. Not saying there's not people who are censorious on the left who get triggered easily and whatever, but let's not act like Donald Trump isn't one of the most litigious men who loves to sue. He sued, I think, ABC. He sued again Bill Maher, like I said before. These people don't care about freedom of speech. Elon Musk doesn't care about freedom of speech. So let's not pretend that somehow this is a problem on the left. Yes, it is in some ways, but I think it's honestly a bigger problem on the right because they pretend to care about freedom of speech and then they'll simultaneously, oh, no, you can't, that journalist, no, they kind of bend the knee to Trump, and any criticism is like, no, we're not standing for it.
They just, there's an old saying, you scratch a liberal and underneath is a fascist, right? You've heard that, right? And I never,
Which is so telling because I probably believe he used to be progressive. And then you scratch the surface of this guy, he's a fascist. It's true. He's not a leftist. It's true. Liberalism is capitalist. When you kind of get down to it and the anti-immigration sentiment and you start tearing it apart, they want to hold on to capitalism. This guy is just what he said. Again, pure projection.
never really understood that, but I get it now. Especially during COVID. Like I said, they used to say I'm pro-choice. You don't hear them saying that much anymore.
Yes, you do. Like this, again, another straw man. You have to invent straw mans. Like, there's plenty of criticism of the left, but, like, this one's silly.
Or now they say they're pro-abortion, which
What? Who says that? Like, who says that? And also, it's the same thing. It means the same thing, pro-abortion. Like, are you not pro-abortion? You're not allowed an abortion now? Like, is he pro-choice?
is weird. I have met some people who are pro-abortion, but it's a weird thing to be pro about. Like, I'm pro-choice. I'm for.
It's the same thing, though, isn't it? You're pro-choice. What do you mean by choice? You mean you can choose an abortion? This is a semantic argument here because he has no argument. So you have to kind of come up with these things like, oh, the weird. I mean, who's saying this? Who is saying this? Like, most people say pro-choice or pro-life.
But they can't say pro-choice anymore because they were for mandating the COVID vaccine, which is not. You
There
don't
it
get
is.
a choice.
Tick,
Your
COVID.
choice is you don't have a job and you can't travel. That's your choice.
My
So
body
But again, he's equating the freedom of others not to die from COVID with, and that's you've got to level up that decision, and it's a hard decision. Do people just? I mean, America had some of the highest deaths because they're very avert to kind of like actually coming together and fighting this COVID. Like, but now he's making his money from this grift.
my choice with an asterisk.
yeah, that's right. Except when it comes to this vaccine that's not a vaccine.
It is a vaccine. It's one of the most. The RNA vaccines are a miracle, one of the most sophisticated pieces of science. They've been working on it for at least a decade, that technology, and they've had real breakthroughs. And the evidence is that they're efficacious, they work, and he's just selling misinformation because there's a big audience, there's a big pot of money that you can kind of dip into if you sell these lies.
That doesn't do what they said it did, and
I bet he's had it, by the way. These people like Joe Rogan, they've all had these vaccines. So he's acting like, oh, I don't, but then they've had them. And then now you're seeing increases of measles breakout because in the last decade or so, people aren't having their measles vaccines and people are dying. And he's for this. He's saying, oh, no. He's doing videos on it. Like, it's insane. It's an insane grift. He doesn't care about people. Like,
the fact. And anyway, so the Democrats became authoritarian, and now it's funny. I was watching that 60 Minutes thing about Germany,
but it wasn't mandated. Vaccines weren't mandated in America, as far as I'm aware. And there were strict restrictions, to save vulnerable people's lives because a lot of people died. But is that authoritarian? Like, there's positive and negative freedom. We can't just do what we want. There is restrictions on it. We can't just murder people because that impinges on other people's freedom. Like, it's such a simplistic way of thinking that he just thinks like, oh yeah, the authoritarian. Like, don't make me wear a mask. You're impinging on my freedom. It's weak.
they're saying that they're trying to they're censoring speech that would create people to engage in extremism. and they're right-wing extremism, right? And I'm like, well, what do you call what you're doing? What you're doing right now is putting people in prison for speech. You're putting people in prison.
Are you talking about Germany or America? Because, yeah, there are very different attitudes in Europe to free speech. We are a bit more censorious. And I think that's because of the history of fascism. And the First Amendment in America is, a thing that I approve of. But it is different in America. America and Europe are very different.
And for protesting a genocide that's happening in Gaza, you're putting people, and at the same time, you're
Isn't Donald Trump doing that right now? Interesting. He won't talk about that though. How they're want to deport people, and they have through ICE that have protested the genocide in Gaza. Why doesn't he talk about that? Well, we know why, don't we?
funding literal Nazis in Ukraine.
Oh, there we go. Another talking point from the Kremlin there. Tick.
You're the extreme right. The people who consider themselves liberals and lefts, they're the extreme right. They're look what they're doing. They're putting people. I mean, censorship is the hallmark of dictators, right? And authoritarian.
It is, I agree. But Donald Trump is doing that right now. Way more. And yeah, I agree. Free speech, there's problems there. But mainly problems because of misinformation, because we haven't since 1995 in America, the platforms aren't liable for their content. So that's caused so many problems with misinformation and fake news. And that means now, how do we rein in this lies that are causing massive division in society? Like COVID skepticism, lies, conspiracy theories. How do we deal with this if we don't somehow regulate what is real and what isn't? Like, it's not all fair game. Your alternative facts on COVID aren't the same as real science and studies. I'm sorry, they're not. And that's the problem we face. So, yeah, we need to tackle these problems. But don't act like you care about freedom of speech when you're selling lies, misinformation, and Kremlin talking points.
And fascists, and they look at it like it's the Christian thing to do, and I don't know if they'll ever see the light on that. They just think that you have to protect people, marginalized groups from hate speech. They do it. I mean, every dictator, when they censor and keep outside information, they always say, well, we're doing it for your own good. They say, oh, we have to protect minority groups and the marginalized groups, and we have hate speech. And like I said last night, people who want to police hate speech are people who just hate speech.
He's a genius. He's a poet. He's a wordsmith. See what he did there? See, this is why he's earning the big bucks, and I'm not.
One of the things it should have been obvious that the problem with this is who defines hate speech, and it ends up with the majority.
That's right.
So the entire premise of the First Amendment was always protection of minority rights. Like that was a fundamental thing. Like, you don't have Martin Luther King, you don't have the civil rights movement if you don't have protection of those voices, because that was the minority voice. It's obvious. It's easy to be in the majority, right? So how does that, maybe this is the same question asking again. It's just shocking to me that lesson has gotten lost.
It's shock. Believe me, every day I wake up and I can't.
It's shocking that they can't talk about how censorious Donald Trump is. They can't even deal with that. They're just saying, oh, the left is censorious. They're like, what did Biden do? Like, I mean, they're just talking vague terms. They're talking about an example in Germany. Well, they're not in Germany, are they? Like an extreme example where Germany has very specific laws because of their history about certain speeches and what you can say. And they are, in some ways, very censorious. But there's a reason why that is. And there's reasons why the left are very aware of certain people's language and very aware of misinformation by grifters like him. So you have to take this seriously. Like, he doesn't. He's just making money. He's just like, this is entertainment to him. He can sell his comedy shows. He can write his jokes about they don't hate, free speech. Like, whatever it was, I can't even remember what it was. It was so bad. They don't care.
I'm flummoxed. I can't believe that the people I've known all my life are now pro-censorship. I couldn't believe people I knew all my life were pro-mandates of experimental medical treatments. And
All medical treatments are experimental. That's the nature of them. Like antidepressants were, Prozac from the 1980s. The last 40 years has been a medical experiment. Like most science, the studies, but we are all guinea pigs. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked, and it always will be. That's just the nature of medical science, my friend.
they had the most ridiculous reasons to back it up, and they don't know.
No, that's science. That's how it works. There was a massive pandemic where millions of people died, unprecedented. People weren't prepared because Trump cut flu and pandemic measures, as did Boris Johnson in the UK, which made it harder to deal with. When you've not got the funding, resources, PPE, it makes it harder. It was also unprecedented. And then with fake news, misinformation, you have that extra layer of lies and misinformation and grifters like yourself who muddy the water and the science. This shouldn't be how it is. But there you go. And I'm going to end it there because I'm pretty depressed. I'm going to go and have a drink of vodka. You should have one too. I'll see you in the next video.